Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Friday to everybody. What's going on over there, Ben?
Doing well. How are you?
Living the dream.
Are you? You came in and you asked me how I was doing, which is fine. You usually do, but you seemed like you were deflecting.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay, things are all right.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
good.
fine. It's Friday.
Life's good.
Life's good. Yeah, we got a Saturday off, which is always nice because got wall-to-wall stuff on Saturday, as most people with children do.
Yep.
Hatch is filling in for Christian at the moment. Hatch, I'm sure your Saturdays are wall-to-wall.
This week especially.
Yeah, dance, swim. I've got dance and swim for
I've
kids
got
on Saturday.
Cheer, first big cheer competition of the year for my daughter.
Yeah,
So,
see, it's still, I don't know. I'm assuming that doesn't end until my youngest is like 18, right? Well,
sure feels like it.
I guess
Ben could kind of fill us in on that because he's a little further along in the process here. But
Yeah, the 13-year-old gets a little more, they can take care of themselves a little more. Or you just don't put them in stuff.
Or you just say, roam the
Good luck.
neighborhood.
activities, no thank you.
Yeah, go figure it out.
Yeah, and I bet once you hit 16, like that probably is a new thing. Although I read a story today on car insurance, and I don't think either of my kids are going to get.
Not going to be driving.
No.
Yeah.
I read something that in California, like a 19-year-old. Do you know how much it costs to insure in California a 19-year-old?
Monthly or over 6 months?
Monthly.
Oh, man. $250.
It's like 500 bones.
Wow.
It's more than a car payment.
Yikes.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, yeah, they're not going to be driving.
Yeah, not at $500 a month.
I don't know. Well, I don't know if that's here
Hopefully
in Utah.
it's not here.
Yeah, that varies or whatever. But you're going to come up on that
Very soon.
before me.
3 years, yeah. 2.5.
You gonna buy him a car?
You know, before I got in my wreck, my latest wreck, which was a few months ago now.
You're going to
I can't
save
remember.
that one?
The idea was, okay, at that point, that'll be an 8-year-old, 9-year-old car. Pretty safe. You know, maybe I'll give him that one. And now no. Fortunately, I had to upgrade to a newer car, so I'm going to have to get him something cheaper. But he's probably going to wreck it. Or, get wrecked. So get him something safe, but not super expensive.
I told you, my dad gave me a hand-me-down car, similar circumstance to what you're talking about. And I absolutely wrecked that car within 6 months.
My parents gave me a Subaru Legacy, which was very nice of them, and I just didn't take care of it. I didn't wreck it. I just didn't take care of it. I was a skateboarder, and I was just driving all over town, and I don't think I ever got an oil change, which is just like stupid stuff I should have done, But I was also 16. When was I going to go get it? I didn't know how to get an oil change at 16 years old. I learned it was valuable.
Speaking of insurance, that accident taught me a valuable lesson because then I had to take the insurance and then I had to go find a suitable replacement automobile and stay within a budget and all of that. All that stuff.
Yep.
All those good life lessons. But yeah, my kids are getting no way they're getting anything.
Yeah. What does a gas powered GoPed cost now?
I see those
$125.
I see those stupid electric biker gang kids.
But you get it.
Well, not the biker gang part, but like the
electric bike?
The electric bike. It's basically a motorcycle.
$800 goes, $40. And that's as much as, 2 months of insurance is going to cost me? Great.
So why does every teenage boy have to travel in packs then? Why does it have to be 30 of them at once?
Yeah, I don't know. You're out with your crew. You're a motorcycle gang.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
an electric bike.
I'm going to call the police next time I see one of those.
It's a good idea.
There's no way they're up to any good.
Probably true. I wouldn't have been.
Right.
So.
Yeah, those kids are vandalizing something. Or terrorizing a neighborhood or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Ben. We've got a busy football weekend to talk about. We've got a Jazz game last night to talk about. Jalen Johnson had
one of the best games I've ever seen in my life.
It's one of the best games ever played.
Yeah.
If you look at, and I don't love that type of hyperbole, but if you look at the stat line, 31 points, 18 rebounds, 14 assists, and 7 steals.
All of them career highs. And it's not lost on me that he's doing all of that without Trae Young on the floor. And
they're way better without Trae Young.
And the fact that they held the Jazz to 4 points over the final 6 minutes was like, I don't know if we want to start Jazz. But yeah, that was notable. That was a truly brilliant performance. 7 steals is anytime you do that, it's a big deal. And to be that close to a quadruple double, which would have been only the 5th in NBA history, is pretty wild.
I'm still like, I can't believe the Jazz aren't losing by 40 in these games.
It looked like it was headed that way. They were down 18 in the first half.
I mean, no moral victories and all that sort of thing, but I mean, it was much like the game against Detroit. I mean, how did the Jazz not lose by 30? They really should have.
Yeah. Which is progress, I guess. I don't know if there's a good loss. I don't know if that's such a thing, but it's progress from just getting blown off the floor.
Honestly, if the idea is to thread the needle and to try, and lose, well, then that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And then everybody, it was a moral victory.
Yeah.
Well, what's the point? Well, I mean, are you cheering for him to tank, or do you actually want to see a team pour it on out there and come up just a bit short?
Yeah.
Because that's what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do have a busy college football weekend. I don't know how competitive it's going to be. Is that underselling TCU?
Is it fair to even call TCU and Baylor dangerous?
I think it is with TCU. I don't know about Baylor.
TCU, give me the map of how TCU beats BYU.
They score 40, and BYU can't keep up.
I guess that's it. Bear has a random bad game at home. He's not played bad at home yet, but he has a random bad game at home. A hangover from what happened against Texas Tech last week for Bear specifically. And, yeah, they get gashed by TCU's 2 wide receivers, who are the best in the conference probably. That's, right there with BYU. Those 2 receivers that TCU has are probably as good as anybody in the conference. Maybe that's how they do it. As we saw, who was it? Iowa State scored on the 75-yard touchdown on the first play of the game. Like, maybe BYU's secondary hasn't been tested enough, and a couple of deep threats can really gash you. But, man, I don't see it. I rewatched Baylor TCU, and I just am not impressed with either of these teams. And certainly when you think of the toughness of BYU and the steadiness of their run game and their ability to have big plays as well, I do think BYU probably beats TCU by more than Utah beats Baylor. But I think both of these teams win this weekend.
I do too. But if you want to look at the blueprint, Ben, if that's what you're asking, 2 years ago, TCU beat BYU 44-11 with Josh Hoover at quarterback, who threw for 439 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's how they beat BYU. I'm not predicting it.
Sure.
I think BYU has a much better team.
Was that Jay Hill's first year then, technically?
And
years ago? Okay.
And a much better defense.
Yeah.
Keaton Slovis was quarterbacking that day. So apples to apples, it certainly is not. But if you're looking for the blueprint on how the Horned Frogs beat BYU, that's it. Josh Hoover throws it all over the yard. BYU can't slow it down. They get to 40 points, and the Bear can't keep up. That's the blueprint. And that could happen.
Technically, anything could happen.
But that's how you started the segment. You want the blueprint? That's the blueprint. That's what TCU is going to try and do.
In TCU's wins this year, I'm trying to do this quickly. Okay, they did beat West Virginia 23-17, which again is just a sign that, A, maybe West Virginia's playing a little bit better. But more importantly, the TCU really is not much to write home about. Outside of that, scoring 23 points in that win, they've had to score 35 points or more to get a victory. Because they only scored 28 against Kansas State, they lost. They only scored 24 against Arizona State, they lost. They only scored 17 against Iowa State, they lost. So, yeah, they have to get into a shootout. They have to outscore you.
Yeah, it's an air raid team.
They're not going to slow BYU down at all. BYU, I'm sure, is going to feel backed up after what happened offensively against Texas Tech. And I think you're going to see them come out and be able to move the ball with a lot of vigor. So I'm just not expecting much of a game tomorrow night. I think the 8:15 factor of it, is it 8:15 tomorrow? Whatever the 8:15 factor of it all is really going to burn both producer Christian and host of College Game Day and TCU. It's just a bad setup for the Horned Frogs.
You know what's interesting? So TCU in the country, where do you think they are with passing offense?
11th.
ninth
Okay.
with 303 yards per game. But that only puts them, Ben, at second in the league.
Okay.
Behind
Texas Tech?
Baylor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that surprised me a little bit too. Texas Tech is 3 in passing offense. TCU in scoring offense, of course, which is all that matters. They're 7th, so they're putting up 32.5 points per game. I think they probably have to get higher than that to beat the Cougs.
Eric McAllister and Jordan Dwyer are 2 legit threats. Probably NFL guys. I don't think first-round picks necessarily. I don't know.
Well, and Hoover can throw.
And Hoover will throw the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll take some shots. So those 2 guys are extraordinarily productive and dangerous and can beat double coverage and can take the top off all the cliches of what good wide receivers do. They are able to do that. So I don't think BYU is going to win this game 31-9. I think TCU is going to be able to score some points, but
if it's only in the 20s, they're going to lose.
But yeah, I think it's going to be in the 20s. I don't think you're going to score 40 at LaVell Edwards Stadium.
I don't
if
think
you can't score 40, you can't win.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And the Bear is going to have a much easier time moving the football against Texas Christian than he did against the Raiders. And LJ Martin's going to have a better day, and the offense is going to look significantly better.
Yeah.
And I would bet BYU can get to 30 points pretty easy in this one. So if you keep TCU in the 20s, it should be no problem.
I would think so too.
But that's the recipe. That's what TCU wants to do. Whether they can or not remains to be seen. But they are more of a threat, I think, than Baylor, even though Utah's playing on the road.
I think the fact that Utah's on the road and actually the way Utah squashes teams doesn't apply to Baylor as much, because Baylor will be happy to continue to throw the ball even if they get down early, because that's what Baylor does. That might allow them to, because I told you I watched the TCU Baylor game. TCU was up 42-21 with like 4 minutes left in the game. And if you look at the final score, I think they lose by 6, because Baylor gets a scoop and score, and they can move the ball down the field with big chunk plays. That Trigg kid who got assaulted by Mac Rhodes, their athletic director, he's really good. He's a really dangerous player. He's big. He's got great hands. He's fast. Like that's a very good tight end at the college level. And then they have other good wide receivers. So I think they're also going to break off some big plays against Utah's defense. I just think over time, Utah's ability to run the ball, they're just going to hammer Baylor into the ground.
Well, yeah, I don't think Baylor's going to have the ball.
And that's probably the game plan.
I'm sure it is. I mean, Baylor is 15th in the conference in stopping the run.
Yeah, well, that's bad.
They give up 177.5 rushing yards a game.
Yeah. Well, that's not going to help them. It's not going to help their prospects.
No. How are they not slinging it all over the Utes? Well, they're standing on the sideline as Wayshawn Parker runs over them.
And it is, of course, the danger. You get 1 3 and out, and it's like, oh, man, we haven't had the ball in 18 minutes of game time.
We might get the ball next quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is Utah. Yeah, and now all of a sudden Utah's up 14-0 or 21-3 or 17-3.
And you're one-dimensional and it's over. Yeah, I mean, it's the Python thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
And that's what they do.
And by the way, that's a real credit to Utah and BYU. Both of these teams to be in these situations this late in the year against 2 teams with above 500 records, one on the road, one coming in to Provo, to have the type of confidence I think you and I both have in these games is a testament to both BYU and Utah, because they're really good teams, because they are among the cream of the crop, maybe behind your Cincinnati Bearcats in the Big 12.
Certainly in this league, they seem to be among the top, and there is a level separating, I think, the top from the rest. And maybe maybe I'm underselling TCU, because there is that recipe for them to win. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Haven't seen it for a couple of weeks now, which, again, maybe they're overdue for a big offensive explosion, because they didn't have it against West Virginia. They didn't have it against Iowa State. And maybe things shake loose. And, again, it's why you play the games. Every Saturday is a chance to win a game. Every Saturday is a chance to lose a game, as cliche as it sounds. And BYU, again, cannot allow themselves to be hungover from what happened last week. So, I don't think they will be.
I know what happened last year, but I wouldn't expect that to happen. I don't think.
No, it's a more mature team. You have to go through what happened last year. And I know Bear is not the quarterback from last year, but you had to go through what you went through last year of letting go of the rope for too long to learn not to do it this season. That's just part of the growth of a football team.
Plus, I think Kansas was in a different spot than TCU is. Would you say, the Kansas loss for BYU. I think Kansas was sneaking up on teams. I think they were a better team than their record, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy cow, we lost to Kansas, and then followed that up losing to an Arizona State team barely on the road. I don't know. I don't expect BYU to follow it up with a loss. Let me put it that way. I don't think the two scenarios are
Well, BYU already
comparable.
had the Arizona State loss, which is their Texas Tech, because Texas Tech is the best team in the conference, and Arizona State was last year.
And then Kansas. That's right. I had those backwards.
But how
Apologies.
do you avoid? I don't know. Maybe you don't. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe you are right in the right order. I can't remember to be honest with you. But I just mean it's okay to lose to the best team in the conference. They're the best team. That's how you win the conference. You beat all the other teams below you. Kansas was playing with absolutely nothing to lose last year. I don't think TCU can feel that way right now. I don't think that's where TCU is. I don't think they're playing loose, spoiler, whatever we want to do. Let's just go out there and go crazy. If they do, that makes them more dangerous. But I don't see that.
Kansas was first.
It was first. Okay.
And then they barely lost. Remember, the crowd stormed the field a bunch of times at Arizona State.
Yeah.
And that was 2 in a row. So Kansas was a way better team than their record was last year coming into that game. I don't feel the same about TCU, which was my point.
And I think BYU is better this year than they were last year.
I agree with that. I think the Bears better than Retzlaff.
Think so?
Yeah, I
Okay.
do. I think Retzlaff had a little bit of the Cam Rising where
Gamer.
he made some plays when it mattered most, won some pretty spectacular scenarios, but was he an All-American quarterback? Not really. I think the Bear is actually more talented and a better quarterback than Retzlaff, but maybe that's a hot take. I don't know.
I'm curious. Would
And
you
again, I'm
rather
not trying
have-
to drag Cam
No, of
Rising,
course not.
who was fine and won a bunch of games, and his stats were fine too. But
Yeah.
he wasn't. Alex Smith was a way better quarterback than Cam Rising was, in my opinion.
I'm curious. Would you rather have year 2 full-time starter of Jake Retzlaff this year than year 1 Bear, who has to learn some of these things?
I think year 1 Bear. I
Yeah,
think
you
year
might
1
be
Bear
right,
is better.
even with the experience. Even if you had the chance of just saying like everything that happened over the summer is gone, Jake Retzlaff's here. He just picked it up and I don't know.
So what
Interesting
game?
question.
What game was it? Let's see, where the Bear truly won it with his arm. Iowa State, right? Did Retzlaff ever do that? Did he go out and say, "Okay, we need 350 from you tonight, Jake, or else we're going to lose"?
Look at his games. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, to be fair, I'd have to look at his game log too, but I don't remember that scenario
No, I don't either.
right off the top of my head.
No, you're right. He had far more gamer games than just being the best player on the field games.
Right.
And Bear has had those. I don't think you're wrong at all. Oh, here, let me pull this up really quick. Let me see what his best passing game was last year. His best passing game was 346 on the road at Arizona State in a loss. He also had 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions in that game, so it wasn't like he was brilliant.
No.
No, you're right. Bear at his best has been better than Retzlaff at his best last year. I think that's fair to say.
Bear protects the ball a lot better, too.
Yeah, he does. Though Jake Retzlaff only has 3 interceptions this year.
How many fumbles? Probably a lot.
44. No, I don't know.
Yeah, he's playing at a different level with
He also only has 10 touchdowns through the air.
Yeah.
Now he has 6 on the. Oh, this was last year. He has 10 through the air this season and 10 on the ground. So he's accounted for 20 and only 3 turnovers. I can't find fumbles.
He punched above his weight last year.
He's a good player. He's a really good player.
So, all right, stay tuned. Top 3 stories of the day, KSLSports.com. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. It's time for the top 3 stories of the day, KSLSports.com. It's brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials, J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where do you want to start today?
Number 1, BYU basketball's Kennard Davis Jr. was arrested yesterday morning for alleged DUI.
Yeah, this is a bad story. It's kind of a scary story. He got into a wreck yesterday, according to the police. And I don't see the time that it happened.
It was in the morning.
Yeah, in the morning.
It was like quarter to noon. It was like 11:30.
Right. That's kind of what I had seen, that it was early in the day. and there was a 2-car wreck, and he explained the damage of it, and it sounds like he went straight to the police station, not to the hospital, which I guess I'm glad he's healthy, obviously, but you can't be getting DUIs anywhere, any school. Really hard to get them at BYU because in addition to the normal rules and laws that everyone applies to, there's the honor code. And he's a starter. This is a big transfer. This is not A.J. DeBonsa. This isn't the biggest name on BYU's team, but this is a big player to transfer in who was expected to be a part of the team and really help them this year.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with all that. And a DUI is never good. An accident, all that. I'm happy everybody is healthy. Right. Honestly, first and foremost. Also, young people make mistakes. This is a bad one, but young people make mistakes. So all that context, Ben, I think the relevant conversation is how is BYU communicating their honor code? I'm trying to think of a better way to put that, but how are they selling it? How are they enforcing it? I think that's the relevant discussion. And it's because there has been an influx of non-LDS athletes at BYU in this new atmosphere. Now, Ben, I do this a lot, and I apologize for it, but I'm old enough to remember when Gary Croton was here. I was just starting my career, and BYU was doing something similar, where they were bringing in more non-LDS outside athletes. Now, I know, not from official reports, but I know from talking to people that the message was, there's an honor code, but not really.
Yeah.
Just don't tell anybody about it. Keep your nose clean and, stay under the radar and don't worry about it. That was the messaging going to athletes. It backfired big time.
Big time, yeah.
Big time. It did. It really set the program back, honestly, because people didn't know what they were getting into. And one thing that Bronco did, and he talked about it often when he had the BYU job, is he led with the honor code.
Yeah.
He said, this is how it works here. And you don't have to convert to the religion, but you have to adhere to the standards. And if you don't, there will be consequences. Like Jamal Williams, for example, was... it's amazing. Like, I was always impressed in a weird way that he stayed.
Absolutely.
Because probably he knew the rules. He knew what he was getting into, and he knew what the punishments would be. None of it came as a surprise to him. And so I don't know currently how they're selling the honor code when they're recruiting these players. I really don't. I have no idea. But this can happen when you change your recruiting strategy at a unique place like BYU. And I think that is relevant. Are players coming in with the understanding that there's an honor code and it will be enforced? Or are they coming in with the understanding of, yeah, there's one, but don't really worry about it? Does that make any sense? And I don't know, but I do think it's very relevant.
It is relevant. I'm very hesitant to speculate about it, and I don't think you are either. You're not speculating about it, but I recognize the question. It's also, and look, now, Kennard Davis is 20 years old. He can't be drinking. Well, we don't even know what he got his DUI is for.
I'm more broadening the question as opposed to this circumstance.
You're right.
There's nothing
totally
acceptable about the current circumstance, as you put it, at any school.
You're right. And the DUI and being 20 years old. And again, we don't know if it actually is for alcohol. I didn't see that. I've looked at the stories. I didn't see it was alcohol. I don't know if it was weed. I don't know what it was.
I'm not trying to talk about this situation. You know what? He's got enough on his plate. Like, we'll see how it goes.
But
I'm broadening it out to how are you selling BYU's lifestyle to non-LDS outsiders who don't know?
And Kennard Davis is actually a little bit interesting here. And Jake Retzlaff was a little bit, though it has since been cleared. They said there was nothing illegal about what Jake Retzlaff did.
No, but there was premarital sex.
But no, so that's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
So what happened with Jake Retzlaff? What happened with Brandon Davies? What happened with Jamal Williams? Did they break the law? None of them, according to the law, did anything illegal. Jamal and Brandon Davies were never accused of it. Jake Retzlaff was, but he was cleared. Okay, nothing illegal at all. And BYU still can't allow them to play or has to suspend them for a certain amount of time. And that's where, of course, this just becomes a bigger story. Now, look, 20-year-old driving under the influence, illegal regardless of where you are. That's not just BYU. What. But there are 21-year-olds who are going to transfer to BYU. This kid that just committed to BYU, who's 25 years old and played in the G League, he can go get a beer after if he wants to at every other school.
So how are you enforcing it and how are you selling it? I do think that is relevant.
I'm with you, and that's where I think it does get interesting for BYU. And if there is a point where whoever is in charge puts the clamps on where the NIL money comes from or where it gets spent or who it gets spent on, or if you're not as comfortable with transfers coming in because while they're not doing anything illegal, they're not living the lifestyle that BYU is comfortable with or allows, period, then yeah, that could change the outlook of things.
And there are plenty of non-LDS athletes that can thrive at BYU.
There are. We've seen it.
We've seen it a bunch of times. But they shouldn't be buffaloed about the standards because then you're messing with accountability. You know, Ben, I'm more than happy to be accountable for a decision that I make good or bad on my own. But if I don't know the consequences, or I don't think it's a big deal, or I'm told that it's not going to be then all of a sudden accountability goes out the window. You know what I mean?
Right. If you are stealing headphones from the station all the time, like you are, but everyone just says it's fine, it's not a big deal. But if all of a sudden it becomes a fireable offense,
and then and you know who suffers? Me.
Right.
Like the athlete will suffer.
Yes, exactly right.
Because BYU win. And I'm trying to make sure this isn't controversial, but BYU when confronted with a public situation will not pick your side. And I don't mean that to be, I'm not trying to bag on BYU here.
No,
I'm just
the honor
saying.
code is bigger than the player.
Right.
That's fine.
Thank you for putting that better than I would. But yeah, so the athlete doesn't think it's a big deal, breaks the honor code. It's public and BYU has to do something. They're not going to back the athlete.
Correct. And again, it is important to remember that while, yes, this does break the honor code, he broke the law.
Right. And again, that's why I'm trying to move on from this particular, or not move on, but the conversation isn't about this. This is wrong. I feel for the bad decision that this kid made. He's going to have to face the consequences. It's going to cost him in his personal life.
Yeah, dearly.
It is. There's no one today that is coming out and going, well, this was a good decision.
Yeah.
Or I know that fans get loose on the internet. There's not actually a Utah State fan out there that is happy that this person made a bad decision in their life. That is not a thing.
Agreed.
So I don't think there's actually a whole lot to talk about with this particular circumstance other than, God, we got to make better decisions.
This isn't necessarily specific to BYU, though I'm sure there are some schools that have lighter punishments for kids getting DUIs than others. And BYU will not be one of the ones that has a lighter punishment.
No. All right, what's next?
Number 2, the Jazz fell short last night against the Atlanta Quinn Snyders.
Interesting game. I actually thought a pretty fun game. No defense until the last 6 minutes from Atlanta, and they were really good in those last 6 minutes. Like we mentioned, they only gave up 4 points. They held the Jazz to 2 of 11 shooting and forced 4 turnovers. So that was impressive to see them locked down because that's not necessarily been a staple when they've had Trae Young. But Lauri Markkanen scored 40. Ace Bailey set his 4th consecutive career high in scoring with 21 points. And, as you mentioned, he just does look like he's becoming a star.
Well, a little premature there, but I get what you're saying. He seems to be getting better every game, and he's really smooth out there, and he has
I thought we had a drop for that.
A nice game. We do. But it is 4 good games in a row. I think moving into the starting lineup obviously has given him a little confidence. I think that's probably a pretty good thing. Last night, though, was an absolute layup line, which is hilarious. You make a good point till the end of the 4th quarter when Atlanta decided to not have it that way. I don't think setting the defensive culture is going well.
Of course not. You've given up
part of the plan. But the problem is, though, Ben, is they're so now fatally flawed, they really can't play defense, which is weird. Like, how do you set a defensive culture when...
How do you yell at Bryce Sensabaugh about not playing defense when Lauri Markkanen and Jusuf Nurkic don't play defense?
How do you do that? So maybe that's an unfair criticism that setting the defensive culture isn't going well. But isn't going well because they can't stop anybody at the rim, and it is a layup line. And then when you try to commit resources to stopping guys at the rim, then you give up open threes, right? And then Okongwu is setting career highs with 8 made threes
I mean,
because
they
there's
hit 24 threes.
there's nobody in the same county as him. And Jalen Johnson is having a just historic night because there's nobody that can stay in front of him or get a hand in his face.
Vic Ricci off the bench hits 6 of 8 from 3.
Yeah, and so it's weird because the Jazz are flawed. But like I said, they really should have lost that game by 30 points. They had no business. I mean, they had it within one, midway through the fourth quarter?
It was 119 to 118, and the Jazz finished with 122 points over the final 6 minutes.
Right. I mean, they really had no business being in that game the way that Atlanta was playing. And the fact that the Jazz turned it over 24 times, which is wild.
Including 18 live balls, which live ball turnovers are basically
It's a
layups.
dunk.
Yeah, it's a dunk. It's a layup. It's a wide open shot.
Or an and one, which the Jazz are weirdly bad at that. Like Jerry Sloan, I've told you this, Ben, but his biggest pet peeve ever, like you could set your watch to it. If you fouled a guy on a fast break and he still made the shot, you were coming out of the game. It was like his number one pet peeve.
Yeah.
If you were going to foul him, he better not make it.
Yeah.
You might as well just give up the layup.
Foul, but use your foul.
But use your foul. Don't let him make it. And he would pull out anybody on the team. You could plan it. You'd be like, oh, Howard Isley's coming out of the game. Because it's kind of inexcusable, honestly. And the Jazz kind of give up a lot of those, which is strange. But
Will Hardy was quite optimistic, I thought, after the game. He says he sees a really good team here. Talking about the Jazz.
There's not much to be bent out of shape. I mean, the T-Wolves game last Friday, by all means, get bent out of shape. I mean, unless you're really going to get after Yusuf Nurkic for being borderline worthless.
It's not.
What are you going to say?
It's not hard to see what the Jazz's problem is. They can't defend teams that play on the perimeter. They can't. And it's not everybody. But because you have a center who simply cannot leave the paint in Yusuf Nurkic, and now you're saddled with him. As much as I enjoy watching him play, because he almost had a triple-double last night, and he did have 5 steals on top of it. And he's just kind of fun to watch because he does weird things. And I'm not a fan, so I don't care if he's costing the Jazz game. So I enjoy it, but I understand why Jazz fans wouldn't. But you know why they lost last night, and it's because Yusuf Nurkic can't do anything defensively. You're playing 5-on-4 every single, or 4-on-5 defensively every trip down the floor because his backup is Kevin Love and has similar issues.
I can't watch Nurk miss layups.
Well, he was better last night. You can't
enjoy. He was a
he was
little
4
better.
7.
He was a little better.
Yeah,
He misses so many layups.
he does, and he turns the ball over a lot.
And he insists on dribbling for some reason.
He does. He likes to bring the ball up the court, and I like it. I support it.
Okay.
But the story is Ace Bailey, 8 of 13, 4 of 7 from 3, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and he truly gets better every time he's on the floor.
What's next?
Number 3, it's a football Friday. That means it's a big weekend ahead for Utah and BYU.
Big for both. You know, this is the nice part. Again, I'm glad they're in the same conference because I think it makes the football season more fun. And I'm particularly glad BYU's in a conference, period. Yeah. Because these two games, now granted, the opponents are not boring opponents, but they're not super awesome opponents either. But you know what? Both games are interesting because both games really matter.
They do
If
matter,
Utah loses another one, they are out of conference contention.
But mathematically eliminated.
Eliminated. So they have to win. Ben, I'm not usually the one to throw
Say
around
it.
this tag.
Say it.
It's usually you. But if the Utes want to win the conference title, this weekend's game against Baylor is a must win.
Must win. Must win. Sound
And you
the
get to say
alarms.
that every week from here on out.
Now, it is not a must win for BYU, but if they want their road to remain clear, which it is pretty clear to get to the conference title game, then they need a
to
win
keep winning.
against TCU.
Yeah, if they want to make the college football playoff, I would suggest they keep winning games.
They don't have to.
They do not have to.
It is not a must win
No.
if they want to make the playoff.
No, it is
not.
But if I were to offer my 2 cents, I would think it would be a high value for them to win this game.
But can you imagine if we were talking about a stupid non-conference game against San Jose State or something?
No, talking about Utah last year stunk.
Oh, I'm more referring back to it's November, and BYU is playing a meaningful game not only in a conference, but on the national stage.
Right.
And it just never happened in independence because it wasn't possible. And then we're left to fluff up like BYU and San Antonio or whatever in November. It doesn't even matter.
No, if let's set the scale. Utah, BYU, everything that was on the line in that game, or even BYU Texas Tech last week, everything that was on the line in that game. If that's like a 90 game out of 100, it's not the Sugar Bowl, it's not the greatest game, but it's like a 90 out of 100. Super important. Where would you put Utah Baylor? Like what? Give it a number score.
Well, I mean, Utah can still win the league.
They
so
can.
I'd put it
so it's not nothing.
No, I'd put it up above 50.
It's above 50,
Yeah,
right?
like
I think that's
60
very
or
fair.
70?
Because we have seen Utah Air Force or Utah New Mexico or whatever these games that didn't matter.
But there is something on the line, and they're playing against above 500 P4 team.
It's only a slightly above 50 game, and when's it on TV? It's 5 o'clock on ESPN. Like, this is a huge game.
Yeah.
This would be the game that you circled before the season. Like, Utah got 2 games on national TV this year. Holy cow, they're everywhere. And now it's just like, that's just where they play against a team that's above 500 that, it has a chance to derail Utah's final hopes of making the college football playoff or going to the Big 12 title game. So, it's a relatively huge game compared to what they have played 15 years ago. And for BYU, these are all brand new.
All right, Steve Bartle at the top of the 11 o'clock hour. Stay tuned for that. Greg Wrubell, voice of the Cougs, will be with us at 11:30. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go! Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. The Cougars return home for a battle against TCU. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you about Belliston Jewelry. They design and manufacture fine jewelry right here in Utah. We're going to be up there, Ben, next Tuesday in Ogden, 1155 36th Street. And, we're going to be hanging out with the Weber State fans. Excited about it. Belliston Jewelry, locally made just for you, cherished for generations. Ben, did you see that we have a new gambling scandal?
Oh, finally.
The
third one this week?
This one, less connected to pro sports, certainly. Is it the third one this week? Has it been that many?
I'm sure. Yeah, probably.
Well, arrests have been made. Apparently, Joseph Little Joe Perna is a member of the Lucchese crime family.
Okay.
And apparently he enlisted his son, who was a college student at Rutgers. So Perna financed the gambling ring. His son and his son's buddies at college basically pulled it off. There were a couple of wrestlers involved.
Okay.
But I don't know. There could be speculation that they fixed some wrestling matches, but kind of this is just your run-of-the-mill story, not really anything all that exciting, other than you wouldn't think that college students could execute a gambling ring that had over $2 million in transactions.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild. But the reason I bring this up, Ben, is because I love a good quote. You're a writer, beat writer. You of course love a good quote. I'm trying to get this guy's name. The cop who was publicly speaking for the New Jersey State Police. Anyway, his last name is Platkin. I don't know what
Matt Platkin.
Matt Platkin.
Yeah, Matthew, but I'm going to call him Matt.
Here's what he says. Quote, any college student listening, yes, if you're of age, you can gamble on your phones. However, you should not be gambling in a mob-backed operation. That's free parental advice, unquote. Which I thought was a hilarious quote. Little advice, don't pick the mob-backed.
Yeah.
You have many apps you can download.
It's really
these
easy
days,
to do.
apparently.
It's legal in New Jersey. You can go to Atlantic City. How far is it?
Probably not that far.
Yeah,
from
probably not
Rutgers.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can probably get there in no
But
time.
I'm sure DraftKings or whatever is available in New Jersey.
You can do it on your phone on campus.
Yeah, it's
using campus Wi-Fi.
so don't pick the mob one. I thought that was a great quote.
Allegedly, this family is also part of the Chauncey Billups one.
Okay.
the Lucchese family is part of the Chauncey
Right.
Billups one.
This crime
Yeah.
family is also
Right.
involved in that scheme.
But like all 5 families were involved in that one, right? Or was it
Yeah,
4
it was
out of the
4
5?
of the Cosa Nostra, everything, yeah.
The big 5 in New York?
Again, this doesn't seem like there's no allegations here that anyone is throwing gambling or throwing wrestling matches, right? That's not the
They
implication.
said maybe.
Maybe.
But
I went to a Halloween party. A friend of mine had one. His sister played volleyball, and I won't say where she played. It wasn't one of our local schools, but she went back there for kind of an alumni thing, and she was talking to me about NIL even infiltrating relatively, I'll just say mid-level, D1, but mid-level women's volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
And the top player was making, I think, $15,000 a year in NIL, and everyone gets $1,000 for signing. And she's like, you do recognize, I guess, if you're getting $1,000 and you think, well, I should get paid, and, well, I can make quadruple that by missing a serve. You know what I mean? By losing a game, not the match, a set. I guess I can make that money back. And what does a college wrestler make? Maybe the top in the country at the big wrestling schools probably does pretty well. Might make 6 figures, but yeah, I'll make a little bit extra money, take care of myself. All the rest of the athletes in my department are getting paid. Why am I not getting paid? Ace Bailey's at Rutgers. He's making how much? $4 million. I'm the best player I'm the best wrestler on the team. I can't get any money. And I'm not alleging.
yeah,
any
what
of that,
what
but-
point are you making? Is it sympathetic? Because I do not find it.
No,
that way.
not sympathetic at all. But it's easy to look at what your neighbor's making and say, why am I not making that much, and how can I get there? That's really easy to do.
Yeah, but when you go down that road, what's the end?
No, there is no end. Yeah,
Right.
This is the end.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
right.
This is the end. I watched the John Candy documentary last night on Prime. It's interesting. It's good. John Candy was pretty interesting. A wonderful actor and a great guy. But, they talk about he was so nice, but the one time he got angry was on SCTV, which was kind of the counterpart to SNL, when he was looking at the rest of the comedians that were also getting paid for being writers also. And he got mad that he wasn't getting paid as a writer because, what do you mean? I'm improvising stuff. That's writing. I'm doing my job. How is that not writing? Why am I not getting paid enough? That's just the human instinct of why are they getting more than I am? I'm equally good at what I do, even if it's different than what they do. So I think that's where it does get sketchy. And these athletes now feel like they deserve to make money, and everyone has told them they deserve to make money. So again, not running illegal gambling schemes with the mob, but I understand why people are trying to get paid at that age when that was just maybe not as at the forefront of what the goal was of their job 10 years ago.
Ben, I had a buddy in college who drove a DeLorean.
What year did he come from?
I don't know, but he drove a DeLorean.
One day he appeared out of the blue.
Now, I would have loved to have driven a DeLorean. I could only afford a Civic.
Right.
Now, did I start selling cocaine?
No.
So I could buy that
I hope
DeLorean
not.
because I was jealous
No.
of my buddy who drove
I
a
hope
DeLorean.
you had the sense for that not to be the case.
No, I fixed my Civic and I drove to work. That's what I did. Now, when I was at work to afford the DeLorean and when I was working at Sears, did I empty the till into a bag and try and get it to my car?
I would hope you didn't.
No, I didn't do that
'cause
either.
You worked with Lloyd and the till was
Yeah.
empty by the time Lloyd left.
Yeah,
work.
exactly. The Portuguese mob had that cornered. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have any sympathy for any of this stuff. I
I'm with
don't.
you.
I
I'm not
don't. And
condoning
I
it.
don't care if the $1,000 a year volleyball player is looking at the star quarterback and going, "Why me?"
I'm not
I
condoning
don't
it
care.
either.
I didn't care that Pete Rose had all sorts of stuff going on in his life. I didn't care that he didn't bet on his own team. I've said this a million times. There is one rule in sports. One. That's it. You can't gamble. You can't do it. I don't care.
I'm with you, and I'm totally with you.
I'm not sympathetic.
And you shouldn't be. Well, all the crimes
I
you're
don't
talking
care about their
are
context.
not. I do understand that 18-year-olds are dumb people, and 19-year-olds are dumb people. I was a dumb 18-year-old and 19-year-old.
And
Now, I
managed
was
to not break the law.
You're right.
Strange.
I didn't. You're right. I never got caught
You
breaking
didn't look
the
at
law.
your neighbor
That
and
we know
go,
of.
"Wow, they
Yeah,
have a nice
I definitely
SUV."
did not get caught breaking the law. But
I don't think you were stealing from the hotel you
no,
worked
of
at.
course not.
I don't think you were dealing cocaine on
Of course
on
not.
campus.
No, and that's not necessarily what's being alleged here. But
No, you see what I'm saying, though. You compromise your moral integrity or whatever because of jealousy. That's it's written in the 10 Commandments. I mean, it's a
I totally get it. I also understand why the temptation is there, and it's because there was so much money with these college athletes that one day there was not.
Boo-hoo. Deal with it.
Okay. I'm not saying I condone what they're doing. I'm saying I recognize that they are facing probably different pressures than college kids did 20 years ago.
Christian became a cat burglar because of the big money rolling around Brigham City.
Mm-hmm. Got to.
He's like, I'm going to steal those jewels. That's what I'm doing.
Notorious Brigham City for its jewel collection.
I know.
Yeah, rubies.
Stay tuned. Steve Bartle joins us next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready?
Kyle Whittingham and the Utes hit the road to Waco for a showdown against Baylor. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to talk some Ute football with the man who covers them for KSLSports.com, the one and only Steve Bartle. Hit it, Christian.
Covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Steve, what's going on, man?
Jake, Ben, how we doing?
We're doing terrific. Steve, I feel like the Baylor noise off the field over the last 48 hours has grown louder, maybe taking a little bit of a step back today. Do you feel like that's hanging over the program, or is it far enough aside that it doesn't really matter?
You know, it's interesting. So I just landed at the airport and was on the shuttle to the car rental spot, and sitting next to me were a couple of football folks, and they were actually talking about the Baylor situation. And so, it's certainly a hot topic of conversation right now. And, I have no real sense for what sort of impact it's going to have on the team. But, listening to Dave Aranda's press conference earlier this week, he started out that presser with, I think, 4 or 5 straight questions about that situation. And so it's certainly something that I think there's enough noise where, it could be a distraction, at least, in the sense of what I'm able to gather. But I have no real feel for what, the whole Mac Road situation is going to mean for Utah in the game tomorrow. But I do think it's certainly a hot topic of conversation, not only in the Big 12, but just, college football, in general.
What was the reasoning for tapping Harlan?
I think obviously his experience. He was just recently on the college football playoff committee 2 years ago in 2023, and kind of given the situation we're in, in where we're at in the season, right? We've already seen 2 playoff rankings, and we've got a month until the final rankings debut, and so to have somebody with that sort of experience obviously is a big thing. And so I think that above all else is why Mark Harlan was tabbed as the guy to fill that spot for the Big 12. And I think, talking just to some people, Mark's going to go about this the right way. He's going to put the conference forward. I think there's been a lot of conversation, maybe crashing out by some about Mark Harlan and stepping into this role and what it means for the conference. But I think Mark is going to put his best foot forward and do what's best for the Big 12.
I have watched Baylor, and they just don't seem particularly threatening. I get that they can move the ball through the air, but am I way off? Is this a more dangerous team than I'm giving them credit for? Am I underselling them?
No, it's an interesting, conversation with Baylor. I think Sawyer Robertson is, one of the best quarterbacks, not only in the Big 12, but in the country. And when you have a quarterback like that, you're going to have a puncher's chance. But I think the rest of this Baylor team, outside of the passing game, it's just they've been hurt by injuries. They've lost a couple defensive linemen. The offensive line is a mess. And so there's just a lot of things when you look at the matchup between Utah and Baylor that point in Utah's favor. But again, like I said, when you've got a quarterback like Sawyer Robertson who's, playing as efficiently as he is, while still being able to capitalize and create a lot of explosives. That's kind of the worry in this matchup is, Utah has been susceptible to the explosive plays through the air. And with Robertson and his collection of pass catchers, that's going to be a tough test. That's going to be the biggest test for Utah on that side of the ball. I think Utah is going to be able to get the ground game going. I think we're to the point where Utah's done it enough where the question is, can the opponent limit Utah's rushing attack more so than it is Utah establishing it? That's just how efficient, how effective they've been in establishing the ground game. And so I think this is another favorable matchup for Utah on the offensive side of the ball. Now with Dave Aranda and Baylor having a bye week, and obviously Utah coming off a bye week as well, but with Dave Aranda, what sort of adjustments can he make defensively? That's going to be an interesting element as we get to tomorrow. I think Aranda and that Baylor defense did a pretty impressive job against UCF, which is a pretty solid rushing attack in their own right. It's not Utah's rushing attack, but they still limited them to pretty solid numbers on the ground. So I think that's going to be a fun test. But just in terms of the overall matchup, I think Utah's pretty heavily favored, and that's that speaks to just the totality of offensively, defensively, special teams. I think Utah's favored. It makes a lot of sense. So I think you're gonna have a puncher's chance with a quarterback like Sawyer Robinson. But I think you're fair to make the assumptions that you have, Ben.
Yeah, I don't think Sawyer's going to be on the field enough. I mean, we looked into those rushing stats, and Baylor just cannot stop the rush at all. So unless Aranda adjusts in new players, I mean, matchups, you talk about this a lot, Steve. Matchups in college football matter so much. I mean, there are teams that can limit Utah's run game. I just don't think Baylor's one of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what we've seen this season is that the one team that could, have elite defensive linemen, and that's Texas Tech. And they've done that to a lot of opponents this season. And so, I don't think Baylor has the sort of defensive linemen. Well, I know they don't. They haven't invested in that defensive line the way that Texas Tech has. But again, just with Aranda and some of the things that he can do schematically, he's a brilliant defensive mind. I'm curious in that sense. But in terms of just the personnel, Utah fans should go into this feeling pretty optimistic, pretty confident about how Utah is going to be able to establish the run, especially with the emergence of Daniel Bray, the progress that Wayshawn Parker has made as a running back over the last couple of games. And then a week off, we saw what that did for Devin Dampier and, his athletic ability against Arizona State. And, is he going to be able to is he going to have more of that elite athleticism we saw against Arizona State? That's going to make it even harder for Baylor to stop the run as well. So, yeah, I think when you look at this matchup, that phase of the game favors Utah pretty favorably.
What do you think about Wayshawn Parker's emergence, and I guess what it means for that backfield?
I think this has been part of the plan, right? Is limiting his touches, limiting the usage early on in the season, so that when you get to late October, November, he's in great shape. And you look at his workload to this point of the season. I think he's still under 90 carries, 87 carries if I remember correctly. And you look at where he's at in terms of rushing yards in the conference. He's top 10, but then you compare some of the rushing numbers in terms of his carries, rushing attempts, and it's he's 40, 50 carries short of everybody else in the top 10. And so I think this is where you're going to see a little bit more of Wayshawn Parker as we get into these final three games. And, he's really meshed well with this offense in terms of what they ask the running backs to do in the run game. He's a really great fit because he's able to run inside. He's able to get outside, and having that sort of back, hitting his stride in the month of November, that's a really exciting thing for Utah because, he's now had back-to-back 100-yard games, and you look at the schedule, Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas, those three teams are in the bottom half of the Big 12 in terms of stopping the run. So when you're talking about Wayshawn Parker, what he could be capable of this month, I think, he's at 600 yards right now. I think he's very capable of getting to that 1,000-yard mark.
Steve, if you had to read the tea leaves right now, how many teams does the Big 12 get into the playoff?
Yeah, I think they get two. I think the Big 12, I think they get two. And I think the key for the Big 12 is going to be two former Big 12 programs in Texas and Oklahoma. You look at their remaining three games, they've got two ranked opponents, and then, LSU for Oklahoma and Arkansas for Texas. That's going to be the key for me can LSU, can they upset Oklahoma in the final week? If they do, regardless of what wins they get against, Alabama, I don't see that going their way. And then they've got Missouri, who's playing good football. So that's going to be the key for the Big 12 is Oklahoma, Texas, and what they do. But I think just on their own merits as well, with the way that Texas Tech has played, with BYU taking care of business, getting wins, regardless of how it's looked and how they've performed in the metrics, at the end of the day, it's a win-loss sport. And, BYU at one loss, they're in a good spot in terms of how they look right now. Utah playing great football, 7-2, and really hitting their stride. Obviously, the league is going to need help. And I personally, I think they're going to get help. I think there's going to be a little bit more chaos over the final month of the season. And I think the Big 12 gets two bids in.
Steve Witt just likes sunsets, or is he hinting at something else?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. So Utah football posted a little clip of Witt, not necessarily enjoying the sunset, but obviously with the sunset as the backdrop. And I think just kind of given where he's at in his career, it was certainly interesting. And so, yeah, I asked him about sunsets, and he got a laugh out of it. But I think, we're all to that point where you see something like that and you're just like, okay, that's not nothing. Now, do we see something anytime soon? I don't know. I think Witt is, he's committed to this team. He loves this team. He talks about it all the time. He really enjoys coaching this team. He's having a lot of fun, and I think that's the thing for him in Utah is, he seems pretty determined to finish this season the right way, and then, we'll see.
How do you like Waco?
I'm staying in Dallas. I did Waco the last time we were down here in 2023. I'm also a little terrified to drive around in Texas. Within the last time we were here, within the first hour, we had a runaway trailer almost run us off the road, which was crazy. So yeah, I have I love the barbecue down here. That's where I'm headed right now. I just landed, and first place I'm going to is Goldie's Barbecue, so I enjoy that part of it. But the rest of the trip, I'm going to be dealing with a little PTSD, I guess, everywhere I go, worrying about the trailers, the runaway trailers.
Well, stay safe out there, Steve, and we'll be following all your coverage tomorrow. Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Steve.
Steve. Thought you were asking if he was, like the Waco Siege. I didn't know what you were going at. Just the town.
Just the town.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never been there.
No?
No.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Baylor looks like
crossover before.
Yeah, well, I think fans around here are interested in actually the new destinations. A lot of people like to pick a road game or two to travel to occasionally, and the Big 12 destinations I don't think are quite as enticing as the Pac-12 used to be. But
Probably not as easy to get to.
Probably a little different, though, because I'm sure the Baylor atmosphere is pretty awesome. I mean, Ames isn't anything to write home about, but yet I bet an Iowa State game is pretty cool.
Texas Tech, Lubbock, cool stadium.
Right, a little different than going to, say, Seattle, where maybe the city is a little bit more of an attraction, even though the environment for Washington games is great.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit different. But I don't know, if I think of places in the Big 12 I'd like to cover a game or visit or whatever, like West Virginia is right at the top of the list.
Central Florida.
Not at the top of the list.
Yeah.
But Texas Tech.
Sure.
I mean, go see the Raiders throw around some
Manhattan, Kansas.
tortillas. I'd love to go to Manhattan. Now, I know several Kansas State grads, so I've heard good things about Manhattan.
Okay.
But again, that has more to do with like the university and the students and all that than it does the actual city. Whereas you go cover a Cal game or whatever, you're going to San Francisco.
Yeah.
We all know Jake's dying to get to Cincinnati.
Not particularly, no. Although Hans seems excited about it. Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Hans is excited for the Skyline Chili, which apparently is a thing.
Ohio, not one of our finest states.
No? I had a buddy who lived in Cleveland who loved it.
Bottom 3 of the 50.
What's the bottom one?
Florida.
Well, it's harsh on Florida. All right, stay tuned. The voice of the Cougs, Greg Wrubell, joins us next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go! Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. The Cougars return home for a battle against TCU. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The Cougs going to try and bounce back coming up tomorrow against TCU. Let's talk to the voice of BYU, the one and only Greg Wrubell. What's going on, Greg?
Hey, Greg.
Hey, guys. Good to be with you.
Appreciate you jumping on with us. Obviously, a very tough game last weekend. As you've been around the team some this week, how has the response been? This is something they have not experienced yet this year.
Yeah, they did experience it last year, though, and didn't have the best response to it, right? They went 9-0 after beating Utah, lost at home to Kansas, and then had a terrible first half against Arizona State. Were out of the game, got themselves back into the game, lost a one-score game, but it was the response to that first loss that really took BYU out of any shot of getting to Arlington last year. So they've been given the chance for a do-over, is what it comes down to, right? They know how it felt to lose a game after being undefeated last year. They've done that again this year. And then now can they avoid, the hangover that afflicted the Cougars last year in going to Tempe? The big difference this year, of course, is they get to come home for this next game. And they haven't been home for 4 weeks. It's been a long time. The Utah game was the last home game for BYU because you went road game, bye-week road game. So it's actually been a while. No better time to get home and ideally get a little bit healthier. The hope would be L.J. Martin is better, in his second week off the bye instead of the first week as he was last week, and they certainly need him to have a good stretch run. I think it's encouraging that Isaiah Glasgow and Jack Kelly looked like themselves again last week. And so, the hope is for this 3-game stretch run, your best guys can be your best guys. And a lot of that is health dependent. And so, crossing fingers that the healing hands can do their work and BYU can have close to a full-strength group of their prime players for these final 3 games.
How do you think BYU matches up against Texas Christian this year?
Well, I do like the fact that, TCU's not overwhelming on the ground. I look at some of their recent rush numbers. This is the last 6 games. You see a 10 rushing yards. You see a 94, a 72, a 96, a 113. Good rushing game against Baylor, but that's 1 in 6 games, really. And so what that does is put it more on the arm of Josh Hoover. Well, we know what Hoover did to BYU in his first start for TCU 2 years ago in Fort Worth. He went for 460 and 4 touchdowns and threw the ball 60 times. Now, this year, BYU's pass defense is much better than it was 2 years ago. In fact, the Cougars ranked 13th nationally in pass efficiency rating defense. And so should this be a big throw game for Josh Hoover, I think BYU has the manpower to match up that way. And so from that standpoint, they appear to be strongest throwing the ball, and that's where BYU appears to be strongest defensively.
How do you expect Bear to react? I think what has been so amazing to me is that, and I've said this earlier this week, not just from drive to drive or game to game, I mean, literally throw to throw. He will throw an interception and then make the best throw of the game the very next passing attempt. I've been so impressed with his, ability to keep his head in the game.
Yeah, when you ask how he'll respond, I think it'll be how he responds to everything that's happened, good or bad, through the last 6 months, quite frankly. He's been, the word that comes most to mind when people talk about him is composure. You don't always get that for a true freshman, but you do with this guy. So, yeah, I don't expect him. I mean, clearly he was hard on himself after the last game. He felt responsible for the way things went in Lubbock, but they know that he's a bounce-back guy. He's going to be a bounce-back guy, and nothing really rattles the dude. And so you like that about your guy, and they don't need Bear to go out and win the game by himself tomorrow. But he's a guy that's proven that when a play has to be made, you want the ball in his hands. I like that about him.
I'm sure we asked you this at the time, Greg, so I apologize if I'm asking you again, but what were your expectations for the Bear at the beginning of the season, and has he exceeded those?
Well, second part of the question, yes. And the first part, I expected him to be eased into Aaron Rodgers' playbook, and that's exactly what happened. But what didn't happen was the training wheels be kept on for too long. They came off rather early. I thought by the time BYU hit conference play at Colorado, the whole playbook was kind of open to him, and he'd already shown the ability to make line of scrimmage decisions that were the right calls. And so and you don't expect to be 8-0 with a true freshman quarterback. You expect a hiccup here or there, but they didn't come. You could argue BYU maybe didn't dominate teams, but they were winning games and doing it with a guy that was doing it for the first time at the P4 level. So, that part exceeded expectations. But there came a point once the training wheels did come off where you just thought of Bear as any other quarterback, not necessarily a true freshman quarterback. But, if you throw the scenario at anybody saying, okay, Jake Retzloff, your would-be senior starter goes out 2 months before the season and you're bringing in a guy that's never taken a snap at the FBS level, is that team going to be undefeated going into November? I'm not sure how many yeses you get on that, but that's where BYU was. And so not that they're exactly playing with house money right now, because, there's a lot on the line here the next 3 weeks. Clearly, it goes without saying. But the fact that they got to where they got with a true freshman quarterback, if you'd said, back in July or when training camp started in August, okay, we're going to have, Bear Bachmeier 9 games in, fully acclimated, and what you've got to do is you've got to win 2 home games and a game at Cincinnati, and we'll put you in Arlington. How about that? I think you would take that and say, let's go with it. And that's where BYU finds himself right now. Now, TCU is no slouch, and even the UCF season ender you can't look past. But, not a bad scenario to be in if you're BYU. And, again, they had this experience last year. They knew, going into their last 4 games, you go 3-1, you're playing in the Big 12 championship. You go 2-1, you're playing in the Big 12 championship. They didn't get there. This year, the task is a little taller. It's 3-0 in your final 3 games, but it's a doable thing. But it all hinges on tomorrow. Tomorrow's kind of the linchpin game. If you can beat TCU, a program that's beaten you 5 times in a row, if you can beat TCU, you can probably beat Cincinnati and UCF.
Going into these last few weeks of the season, the target on BYU's back grows bigger. The better teams find a way to take their game to the next level. Can JoJo Phillips help BYU add maybe another dimension or strengthen an already very strong positive they have on the offensive side of the ball?
The musical intro you had coming into my segment was Higher Ground from Stevie Wonder, and that's where BYU needs to get to in these next 3 games, and JoJo can be a part of that. I think people maybe overlook the loss of JoJo and what he might have brought to this team. I think Aaron was planning on having a pretty big season as a different kind of outside threat for BYU. Chase and Parker are super reliable, but JoJo was a different kind of player. You think about where BYU was last year with Keelan Marion, with Darius Lassiter, and with JoJo Phillips. And I'm sure there was a point last year where Aaron thought he'd have all 3 of those guys this year. Well, for most of this year, he had none of them. With Keelan going to Miami, Darius not getting an extra year, and JoJo being hurt. So I think the attack Aaron Roderick hoped to have, he had to really modify and adjust. We didn't see that yet. And so, how much can JoJo do? Well, we saw last week that we saw rust. We saw inconsistency. We saw a big drop at a big time, a guy playing his first game in about 2 months is what you saw. So the hope is he's shaking the rust off and he can actually be a lid lifter here over these last 3 games, because I think he was a big missing piece of this offense. And I think when it comes to missing pieces, guys, the Sione Moa absence maybe doesn't get enough attention. BYU's running back room took a massive hit, and he would have been a huge compliment to LJ Martin. He would have been the thunder to the lightning, and it would have created less wear and tear, I think, on LJ's body. Sione is a big loss, and not getting him back to this point in the year, that's one of the reasons BYU's been in so many of these battles. They've been winning games, but not really dominating games. And I think Sione was a force that could have helped to BYU to dominate out of the backfield this year.
Greg, if we had you on 10 years ago and you jumped on the show and you said, Jake, BYU is going to be playing a top 10 showdown in basketball in 10 years, I would have said, Greg, put the lid back on your Sharpie. I think the fumes are getting to you. How wild is that? 2 top 10 teams going head-to-head, college basketball, UConn, BYU tomorrow. That's wild. It's wild where things have come.
As Johnny Carson might have said, it's wild and wacky. And yet, I mean, everything changed when NIL came in without the guardrails, right? And Power Conference membership was the other, half of the equation for BYU. So, yeah, when you're toiling in the WCC 10 years ago, it would have been tough to see. You were still trying to just take care of Gonzaga and St. Mary's on a regular basis and hoping that the WCC can be a 2-bid league. And now you find yourself in an 8-bid league or a 9-bid league, and you can attract pretty much anybody that has interest in BYU the way the rules are currently. So, yeah, there's no way anybody could have foreseen our current environment 10 years ago, maybe not even 5 years ago, although it was starting to, maybe inch in toward this territory. The way that things have exponentially changed has changed the game for not just BYU, but so many other programs. And, yeah, it's great to be a part of it and attached to it and have these kinds of games. Of course, I won't be in Boston for the UConn game, but heaven knows there are enough big-time and big-name games for BYU all season long. These non-conference games that BYU is getting at these neutral venues, Villanova in Vegas, UConn in Boston, Wisconsin in Salt Lake City, Miami, Dayton, or Georgetown in Orlando, Clemson in New York City. And that just primes you for Big 12 play, where, yes, you're going to be in Lawrence, Kansas, playing Kansas. You're going to have Houston at your place. You're going to have Arizona twice. And so the big names just keep on coming. So UConn is the tip of the iceberg for BYU in terms of marquee opportunities. But, the more important game for Cougar Nation clearly happens at LaVell Edwards Stadium. UConn and BYU, that's mid-November basketball. It's a good game. It's a good RPI. It's a good a net rating game, let's say. But just one of many, many opportunities in a 35 to 40 game season. You get only 12 cracks in the regular season in football, 13 or maybe 14 at max, and it's a game of the year for BYU in football. And it's the next game of the year because last week was the game of the year, and now this week's the game of the year. And if they win tomorrow, Cincinnati's going to be the game of the year and the next most important game in BYU football history, because all these games really are, guys, with so much on the line, with Big 12 title and CFP in play. BYU's never played more important football games ever. And so tomorrow's just the latest, next, biggest, greatest game.
Before we leave basketball alone, I've been extraordinarily impressed with A.J. DeBonce's maturity. A lot of 5-star freshmen come in and want to score as many points as possible. He truly seems to be doing whatever he has to that night specifically to put the team in a good situation to win, and they're 3-0. What have you seen from him?
Well, I've seen a parallel to Bear Bachmeier in terms of a guy that appears ready to do it at a high level. And it's a little different. Bear didn't come in with all of the national and international acclaim that comes with the career of A.J. DeBonce, playing, for Team USA for years now and coming in as the number 1 rated high school recruit by most sources in the country. That wasn't Bear's entry to BYU. He was well thought of. I mean, when Stanford signed Bear Bachmeier, it was a big deal. And he had a lot of big names after him, but it wasn't the A.J. scenario. But the common tie, guys, is the composure, the steady hand, the not phased. And A.J.'s been around this at such a high spotlight level for so long. It's just another year of attention for him, and he's handling it well. And I do think of him not just as a guy that's got to be, a 20-point-a-game guy or a 25-point-a-game guy, but a true playmaker. Whatever the play is to be made, he tends to make the right one, whether it's taking it himself or finding the open guy. That's who you want on your team, a guy that can dominate when domination is needed, but a guy that's not going to forget about his teammates and is going to make, generally speaking, the right play. That's how you get to be an MVP of an international tournament over the summer, is you make enough right plays over enough games against high-caliber competition that everyone observing says he was the most important guy on the floor.
Greg, we appreciate you jumping on the show. Thank you very much. We'll be listening tomorrow, and good luck keeping Hans in line. I know it's a hard job.
Thanks, Greg.
Well, I appreciate you guys, as always, for the invite, and, give Hans a poke in the ribs today for me, and we'll be seeing him and all of Cougar Nation tomorrow. Appreciate it.
I will not be doing that, Greg. No, I will not be doing that. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
See you, Greg.
All right, take care, guys.
There you go. Greg Wrubell, voice of the BYU Cougars.
I thought Greg might be taking his own private jet between TD Garden back to LaVell Edwards.
I think they're basically at the same time, aren't they?
I think one's at 5 and one's at...
Like 5:30.
Well, BYU's 8:15 tomorrow night.
Oh, is the basketball game at 5? Is it that early? I don't know. I was thinking they were at the same time for some reason.
So It's BYU and Utah. BYU basketball, Utah men's football. Same
Maybe
time.
that's what I'm thinking of. Because David James was rattling off the calendar yesterday when we were watching the Jazz game.
I believe it. That's a DJ move.
David's like, first I've got to watch this, and then I've got to watch
He's right.
this,
That's
and
his
then I've got
job.
to flip it back to this.
Right.
And
He just preps well.
he does. He mapped it out for all of us.
You have to figure out how
I
to
just
watch,
got it wrong.
because it's on Fox Sports tomorrow. I don't think it's on Big Fox, is it? Yeah. It's Fox 1.
Oh,
Fox
give me a second
Sports,
and I'll
whatever it
tell
is.
you.
Big Fox? Well, that's good. I can switch between ESPN and Big Fox easily with my current setup. But, yeah, that's a great game.
Big Fox, yeah.
Big
Big Fox at 5 o'clock.
Man, going head-to-head with college football is not ideal. But, yeah, you're talking about the number 7 team in the country and the number 3 team in the country and one of the most highly anticipated players in college basketball in, several years. He's up there with the Zions and with the Cooper Flags of the world. So very cool to have A.J. DeMonts out
I'm
there.
going to be watching St. John's and William & Mary on
Good.
True TV.
Good.
What?
Yeah, right. Catholic schools, right? Good schools.
Is William & Mary a Catholic school?
They
I don't
might
think
not
it
be.
is.
I think I just assume that they have an actual name in it. I assume they are. I don't know why that's the
My
case.
grandmother went to William & Mary, and she is definitely not a Catholic.
Whoa. Outing your grandmother.
As not a Catholic.
Big deal.
You don't have to be Catholic to go to a Catholic school,
It's
but I
not.
do not believe it is a Catholic school, no.
I don't know why I thought it would be.
All right, stay tuned. We wrap up the show, wrap up the week. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready?
Kyle Whittingham and the Utes hit the road to Waco for a showdown against Baylor. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airwaves, talking sports. They got him Matrix and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarves. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This segment brought to you by Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255, Peach Doors and Windows. Ben, can I run this by you real quick? I don't know why this story is bothering me, but it is.
Okay.
This is John Krasinski, the NBA reporter.
The Timberwolves?
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay, so
Not from The Office.
No. He threw out this quote on a podcast.
Okay.
Quote, talking about LaMelo Ball and why the Timberwolves did not select him.
Okay.
And instead selected Anthony Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
He said, quote, so we know they picked Edwards, but that's not my little nugget for you all. It's why they picked Edwards. There were a million different reasons in their evaluation, but one of them was that they had an interview with LaMelo Ball during this process, trying to figure out, hey, is this the guy for us? And LaMelo did not interview very well. One of the questions they asked him, hey, LaMelo, after you're done playing, what do you see yourself doing? What kind of things do you aspire to? And LaMelo said, I want to be president of the United States, unquote. Do you believe that Minnesota did not pick LaMelo Ball because of that answer?
No, I don't. I think, if I remember correctly, Anthony Edwards was the lock number 1 pick after about 3 weeks of college basketball. And if you remember, LaMelo did not even go number 2 overall.
No.
He went number 3 overall, correct? James Wiseman went in front of him. James Wiseman's a huge bust. But no, the reason he didn't go number 1 overall is A, because he wasn't the best player, and B, I don't know, do you think Anthony Edwards had the most mature answers either coming out of Georgia? Now, I love his progression on and off the floor. He has matured a ton. But you remember Anthony Edwards. I've said that. Anthony Edwards coming out of college was not necessarily Mr. Mature.
Yeah, I don't know what this reporter is trying to accomplish here. Is he trying to put LaMelo Ball somehow in the same conversation as Anthony Edwards? Because that's ridiculous. That isn't the reason that they didn't pick LaMelo Ball. There's no way.
There was no splitting hairs in
unless
that pick.
they are the dumbest people ever. And by the way, why would that answer raise a red flag?
Right.
Why is that a bad answer? I mean, I guess if he was mocking it in some way, but what if he was trying to get away and I'm no LaMelo Ball guy,
Right.
but what if he was saying, hey, the sky's the limit. I have unlimited capability, both on and off the floor. I believe in myself. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of why it bugged me. Like, why would...
John's very respected as a writer. But I'm with you. I'm not really sure I understand.
I'm not putting the pieces together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with you. It's a little out of line. Not out of line. Not saying he can't report it. I just mean like what he's saying and what he's saying the result was doesn't match up.
If a 19-year-old came to me and said, hey, I'd love to be president of the United States someday, Ben, you and I both would be like, go get him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lofty expectation, but knock yourself out. I guess if somebody were mocking me, I'd be a little bothered, but I don't understand why he's like, here's my little nugget for you. What?
I know at a previous stop in my career, the radio, Ennis Cantor came in and said what he wanted to do after he was done playing professional basketball was become a male dancer, a gentleman's club dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's worse than president of the United States of America, and that's not even to criticize anybody who wants to do that, but...
No, that is mocking.
I do want you to understand that, like, these kids have crazy answers.
Yeah.
These kids are weird. Because they've been 18 and they've been handed everything their whole... Now, they've worked for stuff, but everyone says yes to them and thinks they're the coolest people of all time. So they all have wacky answers.
So, yeah, I don't understand.
I'm with you. That doesn't really make any sense.
That doesn't make it. That's not the reason they didn't take LaMelo.
That's not even close to the... That's probably not top 30 in the reasons they didn't take LaMelo Ball.
And by his judgment, that was the reason that somebody else did something. I don't know. It just bugged me. They took Anthony Edwards because he had incredible potential, and... Anthony Edwards could have answered that question saying, I want to rob liquor stores, and Minnesota would have still picked him.
Probably. LeVar Ball was a bigger reason they didn't draft LaMelo Ball than him saying he wants to be president.
Yeah, that makes zero sense to me.
I'm with you.
So why even say it?
It's a weird one.
All right.
That's a weird piece of like info you get as a reporter every once in a while because I've gotten it too, and I'm not going to tell John how to do his job. He's sure she's better at his than I am at mine. But that you're like, oh, I got a piece of information. I have to find a way to share it. It's like, well, actually, is it incongruous with what you're saying? Is that the word I'm looking for? Does it actually, is there value to releasing that? And I don't think it has the value he's implying.
I don't either.
Yeah, weird.
All right, stay tuned. Hanson, Scotty G are coming up next.
Thanks,
Enjoy
Christian.
your football weekend. It's the Jake and Ben Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.